Going to plummet this weekend, and we're going to look at temperatures. In the higher elevations in the North Country, we may get into single digits this weekend. So we'll talk all about that coming up in a second. First of all, a clear message to the man this morning in the pickup truck. I just would like to send a little word out that 10 years ago, I would have put my brakes on and gotten behind you and turned my high beams on, and we would have done that all the way to Utica. But I've somehow grown up through my years, and I just kept moving forward, and that's it. So, but if you're in the left-hand lane, and I'm moving faster than you, and there's somebody in the right-hand lane, and I pull up behind you, why do you have to speed up, get in the right-hand lane, and as I pass you, get behind me and put your high beams on? I do not understand what I did wrong.
Punishing you for something.
There's no punishment there. I don't understand it. What have I done? You shouldn't have been in the left-hand lane sitting there like a squash. A bad analogy, but still, I don't know what else to come up with right now.
There's no excuse for driving slow in the left lane. Let's just put that out there. But if he put his high beams on you,
ride, I didn't do that. I pulled up, and there I was, and there he was. And I didn't flash my high beams. I didn't do anything. I don't understand.
Did he flash his high beams?
Hit the gas, and then he hit the gas, and he stayed with me all the way to Utica.
Was there something wrong with your car that maybe he was trying to warn you about?
To warn me?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I would do. Get on somebody's ass and hit the high beams. Your gas cap is off.
Your truck's on fire.
I don't understand it. I just don't get it. And then he just turned off, and I went my way. But
what other way?
In the day, I would have been bad there. And I'm like, it's just not worth it. I just kept moving, and
good. Thank you.
I'll talk about him when I get on the radio.
He's listening. He's like, oh my goodness.
God, that was Keeler.
I don't know what I did, but anyway, put his high beams on and whatever.
Well,
maybe he recognized you.
We made it. Recognize what? What is going to recognize? There's nothing to recognize.
Well, you're driving kind of crazy fast, and you're on your
moving
laptop.
Forward. Last night, I cannot help but talk about Donald Trump this morning. Yesterday, we went almost until 7 a.m. without talking about Donald Trump. Today, every story I have is about Donald Trump.
Well, yesterday was almost 8, by the way.
It was almost 8 o'clock.
Almost 8 o'clock, yeah.
You're right. We almost broke a real record there.
Yes.
From before. This really has been going on for a year since he has announced. But 7360186, we're going to talk about Trump here, like it or not, and the entire Republican Party. There was a town hall meeting yesterday. Our phone number is 7360186. If you want to pop in about it, we can certainly talk about it, whether we like it or not. There's a lot of other things going on. The state budget happening this week, and in jeopardy is a lot right now. Word is, if this budget doesn't get done, and that $15 minimum wage is one of the clear issues. If this budget does not get done and we go to an austerity, do you know what that would mean? Money for the hospital not coming, additional monies that have been promised not coming, none of that stuff would happen.
Of course, anything could happen as far as them not reaching a deal or hitting the deadline, but my understanding was everything was going good. They were negotiating. We were on track.
I don't know.
No?
I think it might be, but, the issue over that $15 minimum wage is a real clincher.
Yeah.
Now, it was Mark Butler who was speaking out yesterday and saying we need to work on a two-part plan, one downstate minimum wage, one upstate minimum wage. And then I heard somebody kind of yelling out yesterday on Twitter about the fact that, that's awesome. Let's do a downstate and upstate wage, and let's make it apply for our legislators as well. So if you're an upstate assemblyman or a senator, you're going to make this amount. But if you're a downstate senator or assemblyman, you're going to make way up here. So isn't that interesting? I'm just saying.
Well,
it's a little interesting look at it. That's all I'm saying. Because technically, we're when you do a lower minimum wage, we're looking and saying we have to be sensitive to these upstate businesses. Why should we not be sensitive to these upstate taxpayers? Just throwing it out there.
Quote unquote argument is machinated for our good. You
think the deal is done?
I think the deal is done. It is an election
right.
year. They would be out of their minds if they haven't already agreed to the terms of a compromise.
Like taking care of farmers and small businesses, there will be exemptions.
Done already.
So
it's an election year.
They're in there playing pinochle?
Correct.
Wow, Christine with no faith whatsoever.
No, I have total faith that it's already been done.
But technically, though, that's a
little bit cynical.
A cynical approach, yeah.
Well,
so the cynicism is probably fair at this point in our
Let's
history.
state the facts. It's Wednesday. There's no drum beating. There's
Yeah,
the opposite of drum beating. Carl Hastie is coming out and saying, we're close to an agreement. You don't hear a lot of argument taking place. It is an election year. New York State has passed an on-time budget for the past how many years? And it would be crazy for them to not pass it this year on time.
You may very well be right. And so that it's to lure us all in to talk about it, and then when it comes in, everybody will have fought the fight, the good fight, and put something together that everybody can be happy with.
Picture your local legislator in a superhero cape, flying through the sky.
Absolutely not.
I don't know why I'm picturing Dave Gordon in that cape. I don't know why.
He's wearing a
It's the
doctor's
weirdest
coat.
thing. It's in a doctor's coat. What else today that we should dip into? I mentioned that there is a big send-off today for Syracuse University for Boeheim. And by the way, the talk right now is, and this is too early, we have two more very important games to deal with before we're talking about Boeheim as being coach of the year. Mm-hmm. But it is being talked about, right? They're all saying that he has coached the season of his life, this stretch here that he's taken here into the NCAA tournament. And you know what? He really has, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The coaching has been pristine. But would you say it's a little too early?
Yeah, I think so. I guess I snickered a bit because the second thought I had was he's in the running also for tutor of the year. Apparently, Boeheim and those basketball coaches, they'll do your homework for you.
Yeah.
So that was part of the suspension, right, is that work was being done for former students. But anyway,
yeah, and
I'm being cynical,
and his
and I
whole
shouldn't
thing is
be.
he didn't know anything about it. That's not what he didn't. His people took care of that stuff. But either way, he did his punishment. He did his time,
Yeah.
and he's come back. This team was in disarray, and look at it now. But it is a little early. The question was asked yesterday of the athletic director in Syracuse if Boeheim continues to go on and maybe wins the NCAA tournament. The other day, the question was, would he retire? And his answer was, absolutely not. I will not retire. But yesterday, in a press sit-down with the athletic director, the question was reversed. Is there a chance that Boeheim might now get his contract extended? What do you think the answer was to that?
I think it was also no.
Yeah, and this is the new AD here, who was not here when the deal was cut, but he's saying that his understanding is that Boeheim will be done in another 2 years. So going to be a little interesting there. There's a couple of interesting criminal stories out this morning, little crazy criminal stories that we can get into. And then there was the one that I didn't get to until late yesterday that is just nuts out of Fulton, New York, where a Fulton nurse was convicted of taking a photo of an unconscious patient's, I'm just shutting Andrew's mic off, don't worry, taking pictures of an unconscious patient's genitals. And was then caught. Kristen Johnson, by the way, was her name. Andrew, your mic's off. Was forced to give up her license as part of a plea deal where she pleaded guilty to misdemeanor disseminating of unlawful surveillance photos. Her conviction came after a 9-month investigation by the Onondaga County District Attorney's Office. Crazy story? How about the fact that when you go in, you wonder? Don't you worry sometimes? You know, some women will say, I hate to go to a male gynecologist, or I feel uncomfortable in this certain situation. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said that her husband had gone in for a study, and she was sitting out in the waiting room, and the nurses were talking about him. Yeah, and she overheard it. They could have done something about that, but they didn't. Interesting. Interesting. Wow. Yeah.
Grow up.
You know what I say?
They'd be talking about me. They'd be like, look at the little man. Oh, look at the little man. Here's Christine with an update. I'll come back to you, Andrew. Your mic is off. Good morning, Christine Bellino.